Hi, I'm Claire Tompkins, the Clutter Coach, and this is the Organize Your Life podcast. I am passionate about organizing because it makes my clients' lives so much easier, more relaxed, and with more time to spend the way they want to. In every podcast in the show, I'll lay out a simple organizing concept, and I'll tell you why it's important. I'll also include an action step at the end so you can start practicing right away. My specialty is chunking down this big topic so it's not overwhelming. That's the concept for this podcast, which is based on my first book, 52 Simple Ways to Get Organized. The book is available on my website and on Amazon. I work with clients in person in the Berkeley, California area and via email and Skype, so you don't have to be local to me. Visit the Hire tab on my website or email me at claire@cluttercoach.net. If you like the show, please rate it and review it. To do that, go to my website, cluttercoach.net, and scroll down for the show notes. Each show notes post has a link to leave a review in iTunes. I would so appreciate that. Okay, on to the podcast. Here we are at podcast number 45, based on simple way number 37, Decide to Decide. This is the last book chapter about decision-making, although it's such an important skill that I'm sure I'll come back to it again in the future. It's important to realize that everything you do is the result of a decision, including inaction. You may remember that in podcast 42, I talked about how options are illusions. You just can't hide out from decision-making by taking no action. That's an illusion. That train is still running, so don't find yourself back in the caboose. Every time you decide not to take action on an idea, a piece of paper, or a possession, you are creating clutter. Yes, you are making clutter with your own two hands. And there it sits, taking up space on your desk, in your house, or in your already overloaded brain. I know it's tempting to blame clutter on spontaneous generation, that it just appears somehow during the night while you're sleeping. But it's the unacted upon decisions that really create it. Deciding to decide is a mindset, which is the title of the next section. First, you need to realize and accept that you've been putting off on deciding. Become aware that when you look around and see a bunch of undone tasks, it's because you didn't make a decision and take action on it. Since you are already deciding, drive that train. Make active decisions instead. Now, this isn't always as easy as I'm making it sound. The psychology of decision-making is pretty complicated. A paper published in Science magazine talks about two kinds of decision-making. In one, you're deciding between two things, say 2 flavors of ice cream. That was the example. The options are well-defined, and you know what variables to consider when you make your decision. Another kind of decision-making is called foraging, named for the animal behavior. When you forage, you're not just considering the 2 options. You're also considering whether it makes sense to stop at the ice cream store you're about to pass instead of another store, or instead of not stopping at all and choosing still another option. In that type of scenario, many variables are unknown. How good the ice cream is compared to a store you haven't been to yet, for example. Implicit in this is the fact that you may never know if you made the best choice. Maybe the other place has better ice cream. But you're able to content yourself with knowing that you really want ice cream right now and the store is right here. You can satisfice, meaning that you accept this option as satisfactory, even if it's not ideal. Embracing satisficing, being content with making decisions based on the information, the opportunity you have right now, is a really powerful tool. Look at it this way. If you didn't decide to decide, you wouldn't be getting any ice cream at all. When you realize that you're always making decisions, it gets easier to see which ones are empowering you and which ones aren't. Which ones are getting you some ice cream and which ones aren't. There's energy and impetus in decision-making. Simply deciding to decide gets that ball rolling. You're opening your mind to the possibilities. Now I'll treat you to a quotation. The last 2 lines are attributed to Goethe, but the history of the quotation is pretty complicated, so I'll let you look that up on Wikipedia. Until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness. Concerning all acts of initiative and creation, there is one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans. That the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. All sorts of things occur to help one that never would have occurred otherwise. A whole stream of events issues from the decision, raising in one's favor all manner of unseen incidents and meetings and material assistance, which no man could have dreamt would have come his way. I have learned a deep respect for one of Goethe's couplets. Whatever you can do or dream you can, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. There you go. So here's what you can do this week. Identify a decision you've made by default or inaction and see if you can make an active, conscious decision to replace it. Be bold. Hey, thanks for listening. I'm Claire Tompkins, the Clutter Coach. If you like the show, I'd love it if you'd leave a rating and review in iTunes. You can subscribe, too, so the podcast will be ready and waiting for you to listen to. You'll find the show notes on my blog at www.cluttercoach.net, and you can check out my store to find books I've written and a whole bunch of other stuff. If you're a fan of the show, you can become a patron on patreon.com for as little as $1 a month. You can find my page by going to the Patreon website, that's Patreon, and searching on Clutter Coach. I'll still post the podcast free of charge, but I've got some cool rewards for folks who want to help me make the show even better. Come back next week for a new podcast.